really nothing more aggravating than listening to the sound of my own voice.
Yeah, I mean, if you're hosting a podcast consistently, then you have to get used to it.
Rebecca, like, she'll play back her stuff, and she'll like listen to it, she'll watch it, she'll critique herself. I'll record it, and I'll never watch this ever again. And I'll watch like we'll make little vignettes, you'll see, but
okay.
And I might, like a 1 minute clip, but doing playback, it's horrifying. I'm fucking horrendous. I have the worst voice.
So you just watch like a clip of it, but you can't watch the whole thing, because then you post it.
I post it.
And then you don't watch it after it's posted?
I mean, I'll watch portions of it, like just like the little clips, but like once it's out there, it's out there.
It's out there regardless of whether you watch it or not.
Yeah, it's out there. I don't even edit it. We just run it straight through, and I just feel like it's a little bit more like I've done podcasts where I've been the guest and then they edit it down, and it just kind of changes the feel of it, whereas we just let it go, and whatever happens, and you just let it ride.
Yeah, I mean, after you've done the whole thing, you've done the editing, then it's really watching it yourself too is just, if it's just painful for you, then it's not going to change the podcast at all. Especially because I don't know, I feel like it's weirder for the person who's actually talking in the video. Because like to other people, like people who are going to watch this video, like my voice will probably sound fine. Right. But if I watch this video, it's going to feel really, really weird to listen to my own voice. Right.
And everything that I say is completely stupid to me. It's like, why would you say that? It's the dumbest thing you could have said. Hi, how are you? That's so stupid. Why would you greet somebody? I think like, and going into you, right? I mean, in your sport, there's tons of preparation, there's tons of training.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, when you're out there, you just got to like do it and live it. There is no editing.
Yeah. No, right? That's so true. Yeah, like the mindset is like you do everything in practice. You do everything in the gym when you're practicing. And then once you step on the competition floor, it's like there's nothing else to be done. I've already done everything. Now I just let it happen. If you don't feel prepared, it's like, well, that sucks because you had your chance to prepare. But at that point, there's no more preparation that goes on. It's just my competition is a result of my training.
Your competitions, that's one of the things that when we first met, because I've never really met somebody in your sport as a gymnast.
There's not a lot.
No. Yeah. What do you do exactly? Because I looked at some YouTube videos and it seemed like you do everything.
So there's a video of like all of my routines from, that was my last nationals. If I'm pretty sure that we're talking about the same video. That was like one of my last competitions where I competed all around, all of the events. Now I'm just a specialist on the rings, so I only do the rings.
So the rings they're hanging?
Yeah.
And there's like 2 or 3 different versions of rings, right? Or at least I heard 2 or 3 different ways they were referred to. Like there were still rings, and then there was like the hanging rings.
There's an event called the Hanging Circles.
Hanging Circles, that's right.
Yeah, and that's like that's because they couldn't use the actual name still rings because it would be like a copyright issue.
Really?
Because that's part of what I mentioned on there. It's called PYL. It's this new professional league for gymnastics. And so it's like a whole new sport based off of gymnastics. It's a professional league, just like the NBA or the baseball major leagues. So you're getting paid? Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I was given the opportunity to be a part of the first ever event of this new league. The rings in this league are called the Hanging Circles. So that's another name for them if you're referring to that.
Right, they call them the Hanging Circles.
Yeah. There was an event.
Sounds like a torture device, like the Hanging Circles.
No, yeah, it sounds like, I don't know why they didn't just call them like the Hanging Rings or something. Maybe that was too similar to the previous name, Still Rings. Yeah. But there was another event a long time ago called the Swinging Rings. They were both part of gymnastics. There was the Still Rings and the Swinging Rings. And the Swinging Rings, people would like, the rings themselves would be swinging. People would be doing like all kinds of stuff. Like it was almost like a trapeze type thing. Like down in like Venice Beach? Yeah, people, yeah.
That swinging.
And when people like swing really, really far and stuff, that was an event in gymnastics. But it no longer is. Now it's just the Still Rings and then the Hanging Circles in this new professional league.
This was the first year that you competed professionally?
Yeah.
So you were going to Penn State, right? And Penn State's like, it's a kick-ass school for gymnastics.
Oh, it was awesome, yeah.
Yeah. And now you transferred back to Santa Clarita.
Yeah.
And you're attending?
CSUN.
How's the gymnastics program at CSUN?
So I'm not part of there is no gymnastics program at CSUN. I'm training individually. I'm training privately on my own. I'm training at a club gym with my coach who trained me before I went to Penn State. My coach who trained me as a junior.
What's the name of that school? It was
Gymnastics World.
Okay.
It's in Chatsworth.
Which is like an hour away.
That's like 30 minutes.
Maybe the way you drive.
No, it's if you look it up on maps, it'll say like 33 minutes.
Okay.
33-minute drive. But with traffic, sometimes it's worse. But I don't know. At this point, I've gotten used to it. The drive kind of goes by pretty quickly. But yeah, basically, I was in the NCAA on an NCAA college team, and now I'm kind of like my own like makeshift student athlete. I'm taking my own classes at CSUN, and then I'm training on my own at a club gym, and my gymnastics is not affiliated with my school life, as opposed to Penn State where it was. And leaving Penn State wasn't really like there was really nothing bad there. I just kind of had the opportunity to try going a different route with my training, and it was kind of always in the back of my head, like I feel like I could just do a lot if I train on my own, because I feel like I know a lot, and I feel like, I don't know, I have a lot of resources. I feel like I always kind of wanted to just try it. And then at one point I was like, man, I think I have this opportunity, like I might as well take it. And a lot of people were like, dude, like what happened with Penn State? Is Penn State, like, did they like screw you over? Like what happened? I was like, no, man, like Penn State is amazing. Like I had like some of my best experiences there. I got so much better at gymnastics there. The coaches are incredible. The team's amazing, which is why it was so hard to leave. I think I made the right decision. I'm still glad I came back.
So starting with you and all of that, one of the things that's your sport, it's an unforgiving sport. I played baseball, and you know, there's a lot of waiting around, standing around. You didn't have to be an elite athlete to hit the ball a mile. You started on the rings. I saw in a video, was it your dad like put like some little carousel or something above your crib, and you just like reached for it and started climbing them? Or
where did you wait? Where was this?
This is on the internet.
What?
Yeah.
I don't know.
The story was something like there was like rings in the house, or you started climbing some shit.
So it wasn't rings, but when I was like 1, my dad hung a rope from the ceiling in my room.
Okay.
And he put a bunch of knots in it so I could grab it easier. And every day, like there was probably like, I don't know, like 20 knots in the rope. And then every day he would take out 1 knot. And then it was such a small difference I didn't know, but so I would just still climb to the top. And after a while, I was climbing it with no knots in the rope, and I was holding onto the rope myself. And then, well, I wasn't able to get all the way to the top. I was like 1.
Were you walking yet? I mean, barely.
I was walking, yeah.
But you were climbing.
I was climbing. And then by the time I was like 2, he put $1 on the ceiling. He was like, all right, that's yours if you can get it. And eventually I got it. And so he started me off just climbing this rope. It was like a 10-foot ceiling. It wasn't like in gyms they're like 30, 40 feet. But I was a kid.
10 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like there.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I would die if I saw like, you know, my son now who's 12, but a 2-year-old like climbing up, grabbing a dollar bill off the ceiling. It's one of those things, you know, where you don't really teach that. You gotta kind of just be, you know, it's your gift.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I don't remember it, but that's a story I was told. I don't remember that because I think it was just too long ago.
No camcorder?
But I guess not. Well, according to the story, I called him up that day. Like I was like, Mom, call Dad. Like, and I was like, I got the $1, but he wasn't there. Apparently, like I got it on my own, and I just had to let him know, like when he came back from work or something. And then when I was a little older, he put a pull-up bar like in the doorway, and like every night he'd be like, all right, let's see how many pull-ups you can do, and I would just be doing tons of pull-ups, and he just kind of started me off doing that when I was really young, before I even got into gymnastics.
Is your dad into the sport, or your mom, or somebody?
No, I got into the sport because they put me in karate when I was like 5. And I was in a program called XMA, Extreme Martial Arts, and that's where they incorporate like flips and bow staff and stuff, so stuff going upside down. And so they were like, hey, like if you're gonna start getting more advanced and you're gonna start doing flips, why don't we put you in some gymnastics classes so you can get more comfortable like flipping and being upside down. And I was like, all right, yeah, whatever. I was like 5. I was like, yeah, I don't care, like let's do it. And so they put me in gymnastics, and I never went back to karate. You know, here I am, just never left.
Let me back up, because you're in Penn State, you got all this great coaching, and you're on a team, and one day, I guess over the course of some time, you started feeling like, hey, this is not exactly where I need to be for you.
Yeah.
And well, how does that, who's the first person you break that news to? Are you talking to your parents? Are you talking to your coach?
That's a really good question. I don't remember. I think at first I was talking to my parents. I was just like, man, like, what do you think if I decided to come back, like, and like train by myself? Like, my parents have always been so supportive of just like any ridiculously ambitious idea I had. Like, they were never the ones to be like, nah, like, that's crazy, like, don't think like that. They were always like, well, you know, like, let's consider it. Yeah, I think you could do that. I think it's possible. So I was always really comfortable just bringing whatever to my parents, like, regardless of how ridiculous it sounded. And then once I started to talk through it a little bit more, yeah, I had a couple of my old coaches or like mentor figures in my life. I talked with them and some of my old teammates. And then eventually I went to my Penn State coach and I was like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think about this? And he was like, well, like, if you're thinking that way, if you don't want to be here, then we don't want you on the team. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Like, I don't want to put myself on your team if I'm not fully here.
Right.
And so after some consideration, I decided to stay. This was like this was like 3 months into my freshman year.
You knew then?
I was considering it because it just kind of hit me and I was like, whoa, like, what am I doing here? And then I did a lot more thinking and stuff, and I was like, no, I'll stay. And then my sophomore year is when I decided, I was like, actually, like, maybe I will try it. So
going solo.
Yeah.
How did coach take that?
He was disappointed.
Sure.
I mean, in a way I was too. Like, it wasn't like I was like I didn't even want to be there at all and I just wanted to come back home only. Like, it was a really hard decision. It took me forever to finally decide to do that. Like, I still miss Penn State, but I was like, no, I'm gonna try this, like, because either way, like, I felt like if I had stayed at Penn State, I would have always had that thing in the back of my mind, like, man, like, what if I would have tried that? Like I wish I would have known, like, what would have happened if I tried that. You know what I mean? Like, it's like that what if question, like, man, like, what if I did that? Like I felt like I just had to know. I had to try it.
Yeah, that's like one of the things I talk about all the time. For me, for a long time, I didn't really listen to the beat of my own drum. And like, there was one day well into my adulthood where I found myself sitting there going, I wasn't in a bad place, but I also felt like I hadn't gotten to where I was listening to me entirely. And I wasn't entirely happy. And I just was like, got to the point where I was like, you know, I'm not saying that I could have gone any further, but I think I could have gone just as far and done it in a different way that would have been more satisfying to me.
I think I know what you mean, because I think I had a similar feeling. Like, I felt like I was just kind of, my whole life in gymnastics, I was like, the goal was to get onto a college team. That was the goal. And like, there was a point where I wasn't even thinking about it. It was just kind of ingrained into my head. Like, oh, I just have to get on a college team. All my friends were like, oh, we got to get to a college team. And then I got to a college team and I'm like, did I even like make this decision on my own? Like, did I even think that I wanted to do this, or was this just kind of put in my head? Because once I made it onto the team, I was like, okay, well, like, is this where I really wanted to be if I like thought about it? And I think that's similar to what you're saying. Like maybe like it took you a second to actually like you said, like, feel the beat of your own drum. Yeah,
it's like, you know, the people this is what you do, and then this is what you do next.
Exactly.
And this is what you do after that, and this is what the natural progression of things. And especially when you're working with people that are, you know, experts, like coaches and, you know, mentors that they've been there, done that, know what it's like. Sometimes it's just really hard to break away from that, because you feel that, you know, the decision they know better than you, and you also have become conditioned to just listen.
Exactly. Yeah.
You don't ask the question, you just do it. There is no why, you just do. How are you in terms of a student?
I think I don't call myself like one of those like crazy students. Like, I have friends who are like straight A+. They're just like ridiculous students. I'm not crazy like that. Like A's and B's.
A's and B's.
Like, good student, not ridiculous.
Never get in any trouble?
No. Like, yeah, behavior-wise, like, I'm okay. I don't do anything stupid, really.
No. I mean, have you ever... I'm curious, because I've seen you can do a handstand.
Yeah.
I'd love to see you do a keg stand.
I mean, I
actually tried one.
I actually don't think I ever did.
I think that would be a hit at a party.
I mean,
especially if you could like pound it, and then
totally.
like one arm it.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of guys on the gymnastics team, like they would do all kinds of stuff on there. Like I lived at like a party house at Penn State, and there was all kinds of stuff going on. I just never did that. Now that I think about it, I wasn't a huge like drinker or partier. Like
I get that about you.
It wasn't a huge thing for me.
Because we talked when you were here talking to Rebecca. We talked a little bit about like what your day is like, and I never had that kind of discipline. I mean, what time do you wake up in the morning?
I don't wake up that early, really. I like 9.
And then what happens at 9? Like, what's like a typical training day for you?
Typical training day. They're a little bit different throughout the week, but typical training day would be like, let's say, like I wake up at 9, and then like I'll get out of bed. I'll hop in the ice bath. That's like one thing I love to do.
You have the tub.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I did is I have a big meat freezer, and I filled it with water.
Okay.
And it just keeps the water cold. I don't have to add ice or anything. All I do is keep the water clean. I have to change the water out every now and then, but it's super easy. Sometimes the top layer will freeze over. I'll just have to break it up and then hop in there.
Okay.
But it's
so you dunk it in a meat freezer.
Yeah, I dunk in there.
First thing in the morning.
First thing
out of bed.
Yeah, that wakes me up. I love doing that. And
how long do you soak?
It depends. If it's like first thing in the morning, I just kind of want to dip in there just to kind of reset and just kind of wake up. I'll just like dip in like 30 seconds, like do a couple like deep breaths, dunk my head, and then get out. And that's it. But if it's like after practice or something and I really need to soak in there to really like relax my mind and really like relax my body and my muscles and stuff, then I'll soak in there for a few minutes, from like 3 to like 10 minutes depending on the temperature.
What kind of temperature we're talking? Like for the 2-minute soak?
Like 33 degrees.
33.
Yeah.
Nice. It was like we just traveled to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and it was like 45. I went and I got like one of those like Arctic jackets. Made sure I took that with me. So it freeze my ass off. But you're gonna wake up in the morning and jump into 33 degrees. Of course you will. Do you have both your parents? They're still with you?
Yeah.
What is like your mom? I don't know, like, my mom's like, oh, Gordo's sleeping in, and I don't know what he did last night. No, my son, he's in the garage, he's soaking in the meat tank.
They're both my parents are pretty like accustomed to it, but like a lot of people who come over, like sometimes my grandparents will come over and they're just like, oh my gosh, what is he doing? Or like, I don't know, sometimes I'll just be in there and I'm silent. I'm just like breathing, like really carefully, slowly, a lot of times, and then like my parents will just be outside and I'll just hop out of there and they'll flip out.
Right.
But they're pretty used to it. I mean, they're pretty used to the things that I do. I've been a little bit like I do like different things. Like my whole life I've kind of been like weird like that. Ice baths, like when I was a kid I used to do all kinds of like stuff in the garage. I would make knives and like forge metal and stuff, and like build all kinds of things, and I was always doing it. They're just used to stuff.
So you would do like metalwork and carpentry and work with your hands? Yeah,
I love doing that stuff. I don't do it as much now, I don't have as much time, but when I was a kid, I used to make like batarangs. Like it was like those things that Batman throws.
Sure.
Like it was in the shape of a bat. I would go to Home Depot and get like a 1/4-inch thick piece of steel, and I would go in my garage with a hacksaw and I would cut it up, and then I would take a file and I would file it and get all the edges perfect, and I would sharpen it, and then I would paint it black, and then file the paint off the edges so it had the chrome edges, and it was black, and I would throw it into a tree. It was like that big. It was actually pretty good. I'm pretty proud of what I did at like 14 years old. It was pretty cool.
You have friends, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because on your Instagram, it looks like you have people, friends that like you.
Yeah.
And they don't look too scared of you.
Yeah, they're not.
You're not going out with like Batman. What are they called?
What?
The blades.
Oh, I think they're called batarangs. That's what I always called them.
Yeah, I certainly didn't have a friend like you growing up. We didn't have. Well, Paul and I mean, at best we might have had like joints in our pocket, but not So anyway, batter rings. So you're dunking in the morning, and then you get out, and then what do you do first?
I get out of the ice bath, and then I eat breakfast pretty early.
What's your diet like?
I pretty much eat like beef, eggs, fruit, and rice sometimes.
For breakfast?
For everything.
For everything, okay.
I love it. I feel amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I try not to eat like any seed oils, vegetable oil, like canola oil, things like that.
Right. Olive oil?
Olive oil, I don't avoid it, but I don't actually eat it at all.
Got it. Why?
A lot of olive oil is like, to get really good olive oil that actually benefits you.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to get. You have to get it from like a certain farm, and you have to keep it at a certain temperature to keep it from like going like rancid. But once it goes like rancid, it's not really bad. It's just not beneficial. And so I don't really see a point if I'm not going to get much benefit from it, unless I'm able to get really, really good olive oil, which is really hard to do. I get most of my fats from like beef fat, like beef tallow.
Mm-hmm.
And then I eat like fatty beef.
Fatty beef.
Like 80-20, not super fatty.
No, but I'm just thinking because like a lot of times, you're told, hey, less fat.
Yeah, you are told that, or most people are. Like I was told that and stuff. Right. But I mean, fat's really, really good for you. Like you need fat. People are like, oh, like low fat. You don't want fat, but like your cell membranes are made of fat. Like your body needs fat. Like every cell in your body like uses fat. And if you're putting, say, bad fats in your body, like I don't know, like seed oils,
mm-hmm.
your cell membranes are gonna be made of like a weaker fat, essentially, a weaker material, like, if you will, and they become more permeable to invaders. Like you can get sick easier. It lowers your immune system. Things can get into the cell.
So what kind of fats, like when you say meat, what kind of meat are you having?
Usually beef.
Right.
From time to time, like a
ribeye.
No, that's expensive. Every once in a while I'll get a ribeye or something, but usually it's just ground beef. I eat like 1 to 2 pounds of ground beef a day.
1 pound or 2 of ground beef a day.
Yeah.
How many eggs?
4 to 10, depending on the day. Yeah. Well, so like it varies a little bit.
Right.
Like sometimes I'll have more eggs, less beef. Sometimes I'll have a little bit of chicken, but usually it's just beef.
A little bit of chicken. So chicken is, because I'm asking, because like I'm kind of the opposite. We'll have beef, like a couple times a week, but in my mindset, the way that I was raised, it was like chicken. Chicken. That's interesting. And the guys that I follow, like if you look at like Mark Wahlberg or those guys, when they talk about their physiques and training and stuff, they're like, well, what's the hard part of the training? And they're like, the chicken. All the chicken.
That's funny.
So you're eating beef. You're suggesting beef.
Yeah, I eat a ton of beef, and in beef you get there's so many more micronutrients in there too. There's like, it's super high in B12, so much vitamin A. I mean, lots of creatine. That's in chicken too, though. But and then if you're eating like beef organs or something like that, like you get so much stuff from there. Like if you're eating heart.
Ugh.
Super high in CoQ10. CoQ10 is like amazing for your brain.
I take a CoQ10 supplement, but nice. It's probably not the same.
Well, just from natural sources, it's so much more bioavailable.
Of course.
And then like liver's super high in vitamin A. One thing, like if you eat like beef testicle, or like people call them like Rocky Mountain oysters. Yeah, like those are super high in zinc. And then like there's varying opinions on that. Some people say, oh, it contains bioavailable testosterone, and it contains like Leydig cells, and those are the things that like produce testosterone, and it contains like the little structures that are part of the testosterone production process. But there's varying opinions. People say, oh no, that won't have any effect on your testosterone, and I believe like you can't treat it like a testosterone supplement. It's not like, oh, this itself is testosterone. When I eat it, boom, testosterone goes up. But it's like, it's supporting the process that produces testosterone. Just like just like when I eat protein, I eat meat, it's not like, okay, this is a muscle that I'm like, it's not like this is just immediately going to turn into a muscle, but it's amino acids, and it's supporting the process that creates muscle, that creates strength.
Right. I mean, I come from the gym, and I mean, basically this year I've been trying to like lose weight and lean down, and I guess you always find what works for you, but I'm looking at my refrigerator and I'm thinking to myself, I don't have any beef heart in there, and I don't have any balls. I mean, who's going out? You're not shopping at Whole Foods and getting does like your mom go to the market for you now and says, can I get like some balls and some heart? And
no.
Where do you get your stuff?
I order them online from a farm.
Okay.
And that's where I order my beef too. I just order all my meat just from a farm. I get it all in a big box it comes with dry ice in it, all frozen.
What farm? Or ranch? I would imagine.
It's called Farm Foods.
Okay.
I think that's what it's called, Farm Foods. And yeah, it's pretty affordable. Their ground beef is it's all grass fed, grass finished. Yeah. And I get 80-20 ground beef, and sometimes I'll throw in I try to mix up the organs, but.
I got a friend I'm gonna connect you with after this. He has a ranch in Nebraska called the Morgan Ranch, and it's American Wagyu, and they have it's grass fed, it's family owned and operated.
No way.
I'm sure they got plenty of hearts and other crap lying around that they don't put on the menu that they don't sell, because I've never asked for it, but maybe they can hook you up with some leftover parts, because those are parts that we would normally, I think of like hearts or those types of organs are the things that would go into a hot dog. I mean, that again, the way that I was brought up, right? Like that is like the leftover.
Yeah.
But you're saying that this is like, can be like the core.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the nutrients that's in it, yeah. And a lot of these organs don't even, like a lot of times you can't even taste the difference between that and beef. Like heart is muscle meat, it's cardiac muscle. It's just muscle meat, slightly different texture. It's a little bit more chewy, but it kind of tastes just like beef.
Do you ground it up?
Sometimes like with a knife, I'll like mince it, I'll like dice it, and then I'll like just mix it in with my ground beef. Same with the liver or something. I'll just like chop up like heart and liver, and I'll just like take like that like minced bunch and just throw that in with the ground beef.
How much liver are you having? Because
like a couple ounces.
Okay. Because like 4 or 6 ounces is a lot of liver.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe like 3 ounces.
I'll tell you a story about Rebecca one day after we're done with this, our liver experience. All right, so you're eating rice, beef, eggs, fruit for breakfast, and then what do you do next?
Depending on the day, sometimes breakfast is just eggs and like some bananas or something. If my training's earlier, I'll eat a little bit lighter. But yeah, usually like I'll have breakfast, and then like depending on when my training is, sometimes I'll have breakfast by, let's say I get up at 9, I dunk in the ice bath, I eat my breakfast by like 9:45. After that, I'm at my computer, and I'm working on like these blog/article posts that I just started working on recently, just a few weeks ago, and I sent them to you guys. So far I just have one on cold water submersion, like the ice bath. I have one on red light therapy, testosterone, like EAAs versus BCAAs, amino acid utilization, and sleep. Everything
EAAs.
I have on sleep.
What? I take BCAAs. I should be taking
EAAs, yeah.
EAAs. Educate me, young man.
All right. So I have a lot to say on this.
No, go for it.
So EAAs stand for essential amino acids. They're the 8 essential amino acids, and I say 8. A lot of people say 9. From what I've learned, if you have all 8, your body can actually make the 9th. Okay. And so people call it 9 essential, but really the 9th one isn't really essential. The 8 are essential. BCAAs stands for branched chain amino acids, right. Leucine, isoleucine, and valine. And a lot of people say like, oh, like these are like the 3 that are like really good for like muscle growth, and like especially leucine. Leucine's really good for like leucine can help with like protein synthesis and just muscle growth, recovery, things like that. But if you're actually taking it as amino acids, like as protein, you're not going to get anything from it, because you don't have the other 5 amino acids with it. So there's something called AAU, amino acid utilization, and it works in the sense that you need a certain ratio of amino acids to utilize all of them. I'll give an analogy really quick. So imagine like you're building a bunch of cars, and to build one car you need a set of wheels, you need a steering wheel, an engine, and a body. Let's say you have 4 sets of wheels, you have 19 steering wheels, you have 100 engines, and you have 1 body.
Right, you got a bunch of shit everywhere, but nothing's complete.
You can only build 1 car.
There you are.
And so that's exactly how it works with protein and amino acids. If you only have you only have enough amino acids to make 1 protein structure, everything else, you need every single amino acid. So everything else that's left over, it gets converted to carbs via a process called gluconeogenesis. If you're just taking 3 of the branched chain amino acids, those are all going to get converted into glucose.
Sugar.
Yeah, so you're eating a very well marketed and expensive banana.
So even the BCAAs that are in like my protein powder, the ratio, it's not that they're wrong, it's just that I'm not taking them correctly. I'm missing others in order to get the benefit.
So if you take EAAs, it still includes BCAAs, but you're actually going to get
the right ratio.
The right ratio. Your EAAs in the proper ratio, you get nearly 100% AAU, and that's more than you get from any food. And that's why they're an incredible supplement. The highest natural AAU protein source is human breast milk at 49%, but that's not very practical, of course. So the next lowest, the more practical one is whole eggs. Whole eggs are at 48% AAU.
Good, I love my whole eggs.
And then next below that is like meat, poultry, fish, 36%. And then below that, guess what whey protein is? Whey protein is like the super supplement. You got to eat this protein to build muscle.
Oh, come on, fuck me up.
It's only 16% utilized. Isn't that crazy?
So that's what my high school health teacher would call taking an expensive piss, right? I'm just ingesting this and paying all this money, and I'm pissing it right out.
Yeah, exactly.
So
well, you're not pissing it right out. Really, you're getting 84% of it is you're just getting
sugar,
basically. Yeah. And not that it's bad. If you're, especially after a hard workout or whatever, if you take it.
Yep.
Your body's gonna use those carbs. It's gonna use that protein, turn it into glucose, and just gonna store it as glycogen, or possibly fat. But I'd
rather have some peanut M&Ms. If the result is similar or comparable, if it's gonna turn into sugar, I might as well have my peanut M&Ms. Fuck. Okay. I'm going to do homework on that as well.
What's crazy about that too is people will argue against that using there have been studies that show that BCAAs, they help with post-workout recovery. Or when people take BCAAs after a workout, the next day or 2 days after, they've recovered better than the group who didn't. But that's the same, you get the same effect by just a little bit of post-workout carbohydrates. But their protein synthesis was improved. It's you can get the same effect by just causing a small insulin spike, and you get the same effect just from eating.
When I was a kid and I hated football, but I played football and it was hot in Florida, and I always felt in the car I would have a Snickers bar right after the game, and I remember between the end of the game and the drive home, I immediately felt better for a little while at least. And when do you go to school?
Only Monday, Wednesday right now. I'm only going part-time.
Okay. And then when do you train?
So depending on the day. If Monday, Wednesday, it's after school. I usually train in the afternoons. Tuesdays and Fridays I train around 2 p.m. Monday and Thursday I train around 4:30 p.m. Wednesday I just do weights. I'm not really in the gymnastics gym. I just have like yesterday I just do weights. It's just a weight workout. The weights that we do, it's specific to gymnastics. So a lot of people will see me doing these things in the gym. They're like, dude, what does that hit? I'm like, dude, it hits everything. Because they're that's a joke. It doesn't really, but I do these things where, like, imagine I have weights in my hands and all my arms are completely locked up. A lot of people like don't lock your arms when you use weights. You got to keep them a little bit bent. Right. With gymnastics, it's different. Everything we do is with locked arms. So one exercise that I do is I have weights here and I'm pushing up and I come back down here, and that's training a skill called the inverted cross. So like are you familiar?
I saw you do it in your videos, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that's one, and then another one I do is where I'm like laying down on my stomach or on my back and I'm holding weights in front of me and I'm going down to the side.
Right, I saw you do that too, and yeah. So you do the one on the, so you did one like on a rock. Was it?
Oh, was that on my Instagram or something? Yeah. Yeah, all that stuff. That's what that trains. So I do that on Wednesdays, and then Saturdays I train at like 8:45.
Do people approach you and say, "Hey, kid, you're doing it wrong"?
Yeah.
And then like, what do? You just show them like a little YouTube clip?
No, I just say like, no, man, like I appreciate the advice, but like I'm a gymnast. This is like an exercise specifically for gymnastics. Because some of the stuff I do, it looks a lot like conventional exercises, and they're like, dude, like, you know, you're not supposed to be doing that. Like, and I'm like, no, man, like, don't worry about it. Yeah. But or a lot of people, they won't really like critique me. They'll just ask. They'll be like, dude, like, what is that? Like, that looks kind of crazy. Like, what are you doing? And people are just kind of curious a lot of the times. I mean, I don't really mind. I'm used to it, because I mean, I can't blame people. Like, it does look kind of wild. It's like, what is that guy doing? Like, I don't blame people for asking or being curious, you know? Like, I would too.
I typically don't ever criticize anybody at the gym. I walk around saying I don't believe in form. Rebecca is very into form. I don't judge anybody for like, you know, you see on Instagram people doing weird shit at the gym.
Yeah.
I look at it and I feel like somewhere in that person's life that is practical. Like there's use. So I never get on anybody's case about whatever it is that they're doing. But I would hate to be a person that came up to you and said, hey, this is you're not doing this right, and you turn around and say, well, you know, I'm a professional gymnast. I can do an iron cross. I can do 1,000 pull-ups. This is why I do. How many pull-ups can you do?
I don't know. Honestly, probably not as many as most people think. I could probably do like 40 or 50.
40 or 50?
Not 1,000.
Not 1,000. But you could do a few hundred in a day.
Oh yeah, like
40 to 50 straight.
Yeah, I'm talking like straight, but like if like in a day, like, yeah. I mean,
how many reps are you doing? Right, you're doing 40 to 50 reps.
I don't do a lot of pull-ups actually.
Really? Well, I guess because you spend most of your time hanging.
Well, I mean, I do a lot of like pull downs, I guess, like with weights. Mm-hmm. If I'm trying to hit my back, a lot of times I do that with weight.
Can you do the whole rack? Like the whole 240 at my gym?
It depends how many reps.
But I mean, can you do the whole thing at least once? You think?
Yeah.
You gotta have that kind of power.
Yeah. I mean, it also depends on the gym. Some gyms go up to higher weights, but I like one rep on like pull down. I could probably do the whole rack, like 240, 250 or something for a couple reps.
I'd love to get you down there one day with some of my meathead friends and just don't even tell them you're there and just have you doing some funky ass shit. I could just aggravate my friend Toby. I could just see him going, look at that fucking kid. What the fuck's that kid doing? And then
That's so funny.
Just have you do like something weird as shit, and he'll have to go talk to you, and you just, you know.
That'd be fun. But I mean, you know, it's not like I don't try to like shoot people down.
No, of course. But you know, when you don't know, we can be judgmental.
Yeah.
But everybody has a philosophy. You're living your philosophy, right? Like school wasn't right for you, or Penn State, that scenario wasn't right for you and you moved on. It's your philosophy. I'm sure there was tons of disagreement.
Oh my God.
And disappointment, and you're crazy. But you live, you do you, boo. That's what we've been saying lately around the house. So you weight lift and you're training. How many hours are you in the gym jumping around?
Like 3 to like 7. Like it varies depending on the day. Like 3
p.m. to 7 p.m. or 3 to 7 hours?
3 to 7 hours.
Oh.
Depending on the day, though.
Depending on the day. Like no wonder you're sleeping till 9.
Yeah, I mean, like I prioritize my sleep a lot. Like I'm not a person where I'm like, oh, okay, like I have to like wake up really early. Some days I do have to wake up early for training, like on a Saturday or something. But like when I have the chance, I try to nap a lot. I try to sleep in if I have the chance, because I need the recovery. But yeah, on like a Monday is like a basics day. Monday, I kind of go into the gym. I hit my basics on rings. I hit basics on a couple other events. I train basics on other events still. I just don't compete them. I kind of go through my assignment really quick. I do like some basic strength. I do some core strength. It's kind of get in, do your thing, get out type of day. And then I basically just prepare for the week. Because Monday is like basics, preparation day, and then you go home, recover, prepare for Tuesday. Tuesday's a hard day. Tuesday I can be in the gym for like 6 hours. Yeah, something like that. Like Saturdays I could be working out for like 7-8 hours. Just from like early in the morning at practice. I go through my practice, then I have weights afterwards, and I'm just doing weights forever sometimes. Saturday's a day that I have a little bit of extra recovery afterwards, so I can just go really, really hard on that day.
And you're training most of the time by yourself?
When I say training by myself, like I just mean like not like on a college team. Like I'm training, it's me and my coach.
Right.
I just recently had actually another teammate join me.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy I used to compete with when I was a junior. And now he's actually training with me again. He's around my age. And so it's actually really, really good to have another like senior elite training with me, because at first it was like really awesome. I had this like great focus environment. It was just me and my coach just focus on what I was doing. But then eventually the isolation kind of got to me. I was like, man, like I really wish I had like another teammate training with me. And then luckily now I do. But yeah, I'm pretty much still like training roughly on my own.
It's important, I think, to have competition around you.
Yeah. To
push you, because I feel like if you're by yourself, training by yourself, you really, how do you gauge yourself? People, you know, when you're on a field or you're on a team, people, you know, the mental part of the game, right? People start talking shit or say something, and a lot of that stuff, you know, you get it worked out in practice or in the gym. But if you're missing that out when you're training, how do you handle that or gauge yourself when you're in competition? Because on TV, gymnastics looks all nice and vanilla and clean, but I gotta imagine there's people fucking talking shit in whispers that only you hear, and maybe the camera doesn't pick up.
I mean, I don't know, but maybe a little bit. Like maybe it's a little bit more like it's not even said, but it's more just like you do your routine and you know you nail it, and you're just like, hey man, like good luck. Like everyone's respectful and everything. But maybe like on the inside, you're just like, yeah, I just like there's no way he's gonna beat me, or like yeah, like I just killed all these dudes. Like just on the inside, if you have like that confidence,
right?
And like a lot of times I would feel like that, like especially as a junior, like when I was competing on rings, I was just like I was always like supportive and everything, but on the inside I was like, yeah, like I'm the guy.
Rings is your event.
Yeah,
that's like your strength.
Yeah, that's my specialty. It's really all I compete on now, and so that's just all I focus on pretty much.
So where you are right now, what's next? Like, how do you competed professionally? Does that eliminate your opportunity to perform in college, I guess, right?
No, actually.
No?
It doesn't. It would have before, a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But now college athletes there's something called NIL.
That's right. Athletes are getting paid.
Yeah, college athletes are getting paid.
You know how much my fucking baseball jersey would have sold for me in college? Shit. Okay, that's great. So it doesn't have an impact on your eligibility.
Yeah, although I don't plan on going back to the NCAA, but if I ever wanted to, that wouldn't have an impact on my eligibility. I'm not sure if my time off would have an impact. I have to look back into that, because like there's something called like continued progress, where I have to kind of be like continually like making progress on my degree, which I still am, but having not been in the NCAA for a little bit, I don't know if I would still be eligible to go back. But I'm not worried about that right now. So
find out one day for me when you're curious, because I mean last night we had a softball game. I just like ripped the ball, and I'm out in right field, and I'm running around, I'm fielding, and I'm throwing the ball, and I feel like I throw it 100 miles an hour. And there was a moment last night where I was like, bitch, I can walk on to like some college right now and just make the team.
That'd be sweet.
And I mean, I feel that way. Now I'm curious. I'm gonna have to find out if I'm still eligible to go to college and compete in baseball. Anyway.
Yeah, find out.
That's a total digression.
No, that'd be a sweet opportunity.
What do you and you're studying kinesiology?
Mm-hmm.
And are you in a kinesiology program, or are you also studying like Steve Jobs did, dropped out of school and now I just drop into classes that I'm interested in?
No, I'm just in taking kinesiology classes. Are
you in a kinesiology? But are you in a degree program, or are you just curious and learning what you want to learn and saying, fuck Shakespeare, I don't need that. I need to learn, biohacking tactics.
Kind of both. Mm-hmm. I'm in a kinesiology program, mm-hmm. but I kind of have that mindset of I just kind of want to learn stuff, and then I'll do what I want with
the information,
with this information. And then that's why I study a lot on my own. I just do a lot of my own research, because everything's on the internet. If you know where to look and you know what sources to learn from, you can learn anything. And that's what I've been doing since I was a kid. And at this point, I'm just in my kinesiology class, and I feel like I know everything.
Do you also feel like what you're learning, there's things that you disagree with?
If they told me to take BCAAs, mm-hmm. then yeah, I disagree with that. But I don't know, just things like that. But so far, I don't think I've really encountered that much that I disagree with. Nothing off the top of my head.
Because there's NASM certifications that personal trainers get, ACE, and some of these textbooks, they never, and I haven't seen one recently, but they never looked like they were any different from the guides that my grandfather used to train me.
Oh, that's interesting.
Not much of the mechanics have changed, and there's always been fads that come in and out. HIIT workouts was a big deal. It was aerobics when I was a kid. Then the HIIT thing came out, and then CrossFit, and the training always kind of changes, but I feel like the basic principles of weight training never really, on an academic level, school, unless it's changed in college, really has evolved, where somebody said, hey, no, because I would love to hear somebody say, no, BCAAs, are not the right way to go. You want to look at EAAs. Don't worry about having a protein shake. Have 3 eggs after your workout, for recovery and things of that nature. Or protein is, it's not the most beneficial. I don't want to lose our Optimum Nutrition sponsorship by saying that. The vast amount of knowledge and having the internet, especially Enzo, my son, who's 12, he just loves to debunk everything. And he's like, no, that's not right. And then he'll go and he'll find 5 reasons why, it's not right. And now he knows it's right. And then he'll go to school and say, you're wrong.
That's awesome.
Do you find yourself disagreeing sometimes with, especially in kinesiology program, you guys like me, are in fitness, but you're a world-class athlete. It's got to be a different wavelength in communication and understanding of your body, what works. You're doing more research.
And as a gymnast too, you develop such a, you become so in tune with your own body, mm-hmm. that you know exactly what works for you. But then you also find that a lot of those things work for other gymnasts as well. And then you find that those things go against common knowledge. People say, oh, this is how you build muscle, this is how it works, or this is how you have to train, this is how you get abs, whatever. And then you're like, well, I did it a different way, and so did all these guys. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know, you also have to take into account the way we train is a lot different too, and it's not as practical for most people. If someone's only goal is just to be in shape and be fit, I wouldn't say, oh yeah, go work out 30-40 hours a week and do gymnastics or something. That's not the easiest way to get to it, to get just to get in shape or something. What it does show is that there are other ways to get abs, to get in shape, to be strong, to be agile, whatever it is.
Yeah. It just depends on what your sport is. Mm-hmm. I never found the need. I saw you do those splits. And never in my entire life. I played all kinds of sports. Nobody ever said, we got to work on those, on your split, Andy.
Yeah.
Are you like Miyagi-Do, Daniel-san? You're your own team when you go into these competitions?
Actually, exactly, yeah. Yeah, it's me and my coach. In July I competed, and I kind of view my coach as a Mr. Miyagi type guy. He's not as old as Mr. Miyagi at all, but he's kind of like a legend on rings. He was like one of the best in the world on rings. He was ridiculous.
What's his name?
Regulo Carmona.
Regulo Carmona.
Yeah. He invented a skill called the Carmona. It's crazy.
What is the Carmona?
Oh man, it's...
You said it's a skill.
Yeah, it's a skill on rings. Do you know what a back lever is? Have you ever seen calisthenics people do that, where they're like...
I gotta watch. I watched a lot of these things in awe, and not enough to like know all the moves.
Maybe I can show you a video of it later.
I'll find it. I'll have our editor drop it in there.
Okay.
What's it called again?
It's called the Carmona. I can point you to the video and we can put it in here or something. It's amazing.
So he invented this skill.
Yeah.
And by skill, it's a move on the ring.
Yeah.
Okay. And why does it sound like it's gonna be something really fucking fucked up? And what year was this that he
invented, like when it was named after him? I think it was like 2010 or 2011.
Oh, so this is fairly recent.
Yeah, fairly recent.
How old is your coach?
He's 42 right now, I think.
Yeah, damn.
I think he's 42 or 43 right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he invented his skill in like 2010 or something, 2010 or 2011. There's a video of him in 2011 doing it really well.
On YouTube?
Yeah.
All right, you gotta throw that this way.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll show it to you guys. But yeah, so he's kind of like a Mr. Miyagi to me, because he trained me since I was younger, and then I went to Penn State, and I was like, actually no, I'm gonna go back and continue training with him. So now I kind of came back to him, and he's still training me now.
So it's Coach Carmona?
Yeah.
Have you mastered the Carmona skill?
I've never done it.
You've never done it?
I'm not at that point yet.
You're not there yet. It's that difficult.
Yeah.
What level are you at? Like, are you ranked right now?
What level am I at?
Or like rankings, right? Like, sports have rankings, like, number 7 in the world or number 3 in the nation. Like, where are you in your...
That's a good question.
And not all around, but like on the ring.
Yeah, all around I wouldn't be ranked.
Right.
But on the rings, I don't really know where I stand. I've only competed once in the last 3 years. And that's all Penn State stuff. And then I came back here and I trained and I competed in July. Mm-hmm. I didn't do very well in July, and so my score wasn't very high. So if we're going off that ranking, it wasn't very high.
But I mean, are you being judged all around, or just are you talking specifically about being on the rings?
It's just being judged on rings.
Okay.
But I'm training to compete again in January.
Right.
And then
Houston.
Yeah.
And what's that event in Houston?
It's called HNI, Houston National Invitational.
Mm-hmm.
And at that competition, I can qualify to Senior Nationals, which is in February. And at that competition, I can make the national team.
And it says invitational, so you got to be invited.
That one, you actually don't have to be invited.
Oh.
If it's called an invitational, it's kind of misleading. And that an invitational is one that like you can just like sign up for.
Okay, so it's like the Open. I can just show up. I can show up.
Yeah.
Get on the rings.
Yeah, you could.
Okay, I'll see you then.
All right. We'll battle it out.
So you're going to compete in Houston, and then based on your performance in Houston, it would qualify you for nationals.
Yeah.
And then what does nationals really mean? I mean, in your sport, is that like the domestic World Series, the U.S.?
There's 2 a year. There's winter nationals and like summer nationals. This one's called Winter Cup, and the other one is called U.S. Championships. And so at either one of those competitions, I can qualify to make the national team. As a specialist, that's really hard to do because I'm able to contribute less. If I was on all 6 events, I can contribute more. I have a better chance of making the team. But as a specialist, I have to be like incredible. Like, so I'm training to be like ridiculous on rings. People to go like, wow, like no one even comes close to touching that guy.
Because you're focused.
That's, yeah. I mean, I have to be.
I think it's interesting that you're doing that, because I feel that in a lot of sports in the last like 20 years, people become like specialists. In my novice understanding, and I watch gymnastics, if it's on TV and college kids are jumping around, or obviously when the Olympics is on, but to specialize, it's one of those things where it's like, if you do that, and people see you do that, it would probably encourage other people to say, you know what, I'm just gonna specialize in this one event.
It's definitely a little bit more popular
now.
Yeah, especially like coming from a college team. In college, a lot of guys start specializing. When you're in college, that's where like you're not put up on all 6 events necessarily. You're put up on all 6 events if they're putting you up for an all-around spot. But most of the guys are only competing like 1 to like 3 events, and they're like, okay, like you are really good on floor, pommel horse, and high bar, so we're gonna put you on those 3 events for the competition. Basically, we need like 5 guys per event, and those 5 get made up of whoever is the best on that event. So if you're not in like the top 5, maybe 6 on every event, then you're probably not going to compete all around. And so coming from college, like a lot of guys, if they were in my shoes, if they did what I did, a lot of guys might come back and just having stopped doing all around, they would come back and start training the only events that they're really, really good on, if they're trying to just be the best.
Be good, be great at like one thing, right? I don't always subscribe to that, because I think you can be, really good at a bunch of things. We see people be great at a bunch of things in different sports. There's some people there, it's like that's their thing, and you see them either come off the bench, and they step in, just to do this. Baseball, I'm a baseball guy, but just to lay down a bunt. There's a guy that just does it better than everybody else, and that's his whole job. And he may not play for weeks.
Yeah.
Till the situation arises, and then they're like, hey, you're up, and his job is to lay down the bunt. And it's the difference between, winning, losing. It could be a World Series, and it's the guy that could possibly just lay down the bunt and drive in the run. That's the hero of the game and the hero of the series, and and all that bullshit. So I got a couple more questions that I want to hit. When I first met you and we started talking, your mental attitude and your spiritual approach, you said that you had a private Instagram page dedicated only for you.
Oh yeah.
Where you sort of manifest or talk to yourself and record yourself in a state of as if you are go ahead.
I have an Instagram page that I'm the only follower, so I can see it from my other accounts. It's an account, and I kind of treat it like I am the Olympic champion on rings. I am the national champion, the world champion. I am the national team member. And so in my bio, I have Troy Lipis, Olympic champion, national team member, world champion, etc. The way I'll make a post is like, sometimes I'll make a post like manifesting something a little bit more long term. I'll just say like, I am the champion on rings. All glory to God. Like almost as if I was just like saying it like as if I was just telling you like, I'm the Olympic champion, by the way. Like sometimes I'll just write it like that, and then a lot of times before bed I'll go through and I'll pick a post, and like I have one that says like, I am the best on rings, I'm the strongest in the world, no one can touch me, like no one even comes close, I'm stronger than everybody, I'm the best on rings in terms of strength, in terms of form, in terms of mindset, in terms of confidence, in terms of poise, in terms of all-around score. And I have like this whole thing listed, and a lot of times I'll just go through and I'll just read that with as much confidence as I can, and it just kind of really helps me like get into the mindset of like I'm already there. Because a lot of times, like if you believe that you are something, what you want to be, then you will start to kind of like live like that person, and then that helps you to get to that point.
Since we started doing this particular podcast in general, I've had some really interesting people, and everybody I've walked away with something that has had almost an immediate impact in the way I go about living my life day to day.
Oh, nice.
And when you said that to me the other day, less than a couple of weeks ago, it really stuck with me. I've heard it before. I think that the one thing that's for me right now is I'm old enough to be your dad, and to hear somebody, your age, with the amount of discipline that it takes to live your life, to be dedicated to your sport. And it's not just going out and practicing, it's diet, it's nutrition, it's mindset, it's everything. It takes a lot of work, and I started finding myself comparing myself a little bit to, I don't want to say what would Troy do, but maybe more of like what is Troy doing, or what am I not doing? What could I be doing better right now, or how can I be handling this moment? And in moments, I had this other question for you, because I was watching some of your performances, your older performances. There was a floor exercise, and right out the gate, you did, I don't know, your Batman flips, and when you went to go hit the landing, you misstepped. I believe it was a very first run. There was like a misstep, and then you regain your composure, and then you had to keep going. Then I watched other events where you do your thing, and then the event is kind of like over. When you've made a mistake and points are critical, and you know that you didn't hit something, but you still have to keep going, it's like, how do you recover so quickly and just shake that off? Because you still got the rest of your routine to go. Because I hit a pop fly last night at softball, and I'm cussing, and the umpire's like, there's kids in the stands, and I'm apologizing to everybody, and I get this moment to like step out of the box, take a deep breath. This is rec softball, co-ed league. We suck, and I have to do this whole thing just to, okay, I'm ready to go and get back in there. But with what I'm watching you do, everybody's watching, and you got to keep going. What goes through your mind in that split second?
There's definitely a point where I'm just like, crap. I'm just like, oh, like, shoot. But like, you give yourself that like split second to just be like, oh man, I totally messed up. And like there's disappointment. I feel disappointment. I feel like, man, like I thought I was gonna nail that. Like I thought I was gonna hit that. But like you have that for like a split second, and then you're just like, okay, like you can't think about it anymore, because then you just have to put that off, because now it's no longer time for that, because you're literally in the middle of something that you're doing. So like for a floor routine, like if we use this table, the floor is like, it's a big square, and you have different passes. So like I go down here, I do one pass this way. Let's say I mess up right here. Then I have another pass that I have to come back right down this way, and then I have to do another one right again. It's like they're all right in a row. And so if I come this way and I fall, it's like, okay, I fell, but the main goal is to not let that affect the rest of the routine. So it's just, you just fall, you're just like, oh crap, okay, no problem. And you just have to keep your composure. And the goal at that point is to try to make like the rest of the routine look as amazing as possible. Because a lot of times when you fall and you think that, oh man, that was it, that was my chance, like that just ruined everything for me, you're wrong. Like a lot of times if you can continue to do everything else well after you fall, you actually have more of a chance than you think. And a lot of times like you'll end up surprising yourself, like, oh wow, like I fell, but because I was able to put that off and keep my composure and do everything else well, I still qualified for whatever it is, or I still beat that guy, or whatever it be. But as long as you can just like separate that in your mind and just stay focused on what it is you were originally focused on. Because if you let that, because if you just can't, I don't know, like as a kid they just trained us like, you fall, get up, you keep going. Right. And like if we fell, and then they said keep going, and then they're still telling us, okay, like make it good. And then if we did it right, they would reward us, say, oh, nice job. And in your brain that's like, that almost conditions you to do it correctly.
Do you also then, as much as you're playing the routines and the executions in your mind, you also play out the scenarios where you might make a mistake, and if you did make that mistake, how you would recover from that mistake and press on?
Yeah. On rings, it's a little bit different, because there's less big mistakes like that to be made. Because like it's kind of hard to like fall off of the rings. Like if you fall off of the rings, that's pretty bad. Like that's like a big fall. It's like, wow, he really messed up his routine.
Like flip off it and stick your landing.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that you have to land. So if you land, you fall. At that point, there's really nothing after that though. You land, you fall on rings, that's the dismount. You land, you just get up, you just salute the judge, and then hopefully you can keep your composure afterwards, just for the sake of the audience and everyone in the competition. An example that would be related to rings is like in the first skill, there's nothing that you're doing in the middle of the routine where you're landing on your feet, because you're hanging from your arms the whole time. But let's say you fall out of the handstand, or you don't hold a skill or something. you mess up somewhere in the routine, it's the same thing. You just tried your best to recover, and you just regain your balance, and then at that point, you just try to make everything else flawless, just as if you hadn't messed up.
I find as an athlete, for me, if you lose, you can kind of play back the mistakes, and then you go back on the field or to the gym and work on those and try to make improvements, right?
Yeah.
But then also, I think sometimes it's harder when you win and you succeed. Accolades, pats on the back, even medals. Do you still find yourself nitpicking at yourself, your routines, what you could have done better, even after you won?
Always. Yeah, like...
Which one is harder? Sometimes I feel that if there's something for me to work on, it fires me up. And then there's like, if you executed and you've done well, it's not that somebody else was better than me and I lost. It's, I could have been better than me. The mind game, I can be a little bit more harsh on myself, especially when people like applaud me, because I always feel that, and I don't know if you feel this way, but that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to win. I'm supposed to hit that. I'm supposed to perform at this level. Well, what are you clapping me up for? Because this is what I am supposed to do. Rebecca doesn't, clap me up because I took a shit in the morning. It's just what I do. You're supposed to do that.
No, that's a really good point. I don't know if I've ever really thought of it like that. Like an audience clapping, because when I think of an audience clapping, it's like, wow, like they think that's really impressive. Mm-hmm. Like clearly it's what I'm supposed to do, but to them it's like, wow, like that was amazing what he just did. Like it's like they almost just, when someone claps, in my mind, it's like they almost can't even believe that that's something that you just regularly do.
Yeah.
It's almost like, wow, I can't believe he just did that. Like he deserves, that must have been really hard. Like he deserves some kind of recognition for that. But that's a great point, that maybe I should think about it like that. Like I don't deserve to be clapped for, because it's like, hey, like this is just what I do. Yeah. Like I'm gonna think about that a lot. That's I like that, actually.
I'm glad I was able to contribute to you for your journey. Where are you in the next 6 months, a year, year and a half, 2 years? You got to have a certain timeline. No, I mean, what is the average age an athlete gets to compete and perform?
Yeah. For ring specialists are like some of the guys that you actually see lasting the longest in the sport. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because rings, it's really hard on your body short term, but you're not going to have as many like back or like knee issues. Mm-hmm. It's because you're not taking as many landings on your legs, mm-hmm. and you're not pounding as much like on floor exercise. You're not bouncing. Your back isn't taking as much of a hit.
Right.
It's really just, if you just stay strong and you just keep your shoulders healthy, you should be able to last pretty long in the sport. Rings is the event where you see a lot of guys like with like gray hair and stuff like on the event, like a lot of guys like
me.
Yeah, like there was most gymnasts, like most people will say like, oh, like the average like time that most gymnasts retire is like late 20s or something like that. But like there have been guys on the rings that are like in their 30s. There was one guy who was 39 in London 2012. He was 39, full gray hair, and he's a beast.
So you're saying there's a chance for me?
Yeah, why not?
So where are you in the next couple of years?
So let's say it'll start with 6 months. In 6 months, well, I guess from this point, in like 7-8 months, I have the U.S. Classic, and that's the competition that I mentioned earlier that I recently went to.
Okay.
I have that event again, and that's like the big one that I'm preparing for a little bit longer term.
When is that, more or less?
July.
Where?
I don't know where it is this next year. Last year, or this last one, it was in Salt Lake City.
Okay.
I don't know where the next one's going to be yet. They haven't announced it. But that one's in July. At that one, that's kind of like the big one that's in the back of my mind. Right now I'm preparing short term to compete in January, February. But Classic, US Classic in July, that's like the big one where I'm like really, really preparing for long term. That's the one that I'm really like, okay, like that's where I'm really going to show up.
And where does that, when you win?
So at that one, I can make the national team, just like the one coming up. No, sorry. At Classic, I can make it to nationals, and then there I can make the national team,
representing the U.S.
Yeah.
Is that the team that would go and compete for, in the Olympics?
If I make the national team from U.S. championships, at that time of the year, I can make the world team. And then I can go on to world championships. And then from there I can start my my track towards the Olympics.
So like you got a lot of levels to.
There's a lot. It's like there's so many little like steps that you have to climb to get to that point. And I'm still down here.
And you're doing this on your own. I mean, is it in a more unconventional?
Very unconventional.
So you're not getting like, you know, if Penn State wins, you're not getting the press and the media and the eyes on you, and
no.
You know, the financial support from the donors, and you're just driving to Chatsworth and doing your thing with your coach Carmona.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, good luck with that.
Thanks.
Absolutely. I'm definitely, and Rebecca and I, and you know, we're gonna keep following you.
Sick.
And maybe one day we'll get to actually go watch you live.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
My last question.
Yeah.
Your social media is, you know, it's like an average young guy's social media, a couple friends hanging out, we're at the beach. What I was really surprised by is that, and I have some friends that do this, you're not showy of your skills on social media, really. You're not like, you know, in the middle of the town square in Rome and flagging, calling on, you know, having tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers or TikTok followers. Are you doing that? Is that just a part of who you are and you're more reserved? Do you do that consciously? What do you think of people that, I mean, do you ever like look at them and are critiquing them and going, I could do better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times I see other gymnasts post, and like being like a ring specialist, there's so much strength, like physical strength that goes into that event. It's like the strength event in gymnastics.
Yeah.
And like growing up, I was always like stronger too, like on that event. And anytime I would see other gymnasts go, I would always have this thing in my back of my head, like, yeah, like I'm like there's like I can do way better than that. Like of course I'm stronger than that guy. And there's like, I always kind of had this weird like subtle but like cocky confidence just inside of me. But like, so I always think that like when I see other people post and stuff, I'm like, okay, yeah, like as long as I'm stronger than him, oh yeah, I can do that. Like I'm stronger. Like, and I think that's something that a lot, me and like other ring specialists, like some of my friends, we have in common. Like, oh yeah, like we're stronger than those guys, like no problem. Like, so that's something that I think that's just internal though. Like I'm always super supportive, and even internally I'm really happy for like other people that I see, and like I love having competition and other people going, but like deep down inside it's always like, yeah, but I'm stronger. Like, and that's something that's just like really deep. Like I don't express that. And I think that's common for a lot of us. But when it comes to like posting a lot on social media, posting myself on social media, I don't know, I've just never really been super into it. I don't know. I do here and there like little things, or if I happen to like catch a cool video at practice, like I'll post it on like my Snapchat story or something 'cause it looks cool. Why not? But I've never been one to like just post things all the time, especially not for the sake of just showing off. I have some friends who are like really, really popular on social media, and who are gymnasts actually, and they post all kinds of cool videos, and they don't do it for the sake of showing off. They do it for the sake of like
business
building their brand,
and that's kind of, I guess, what I'm trying to get at. It's like I have a few friends that done really well. I saw them go from, you know, a few thousand people, and then they got like, you know, hundreds of thousands of followers, and they travel the world, and you know, they I don't know, hang from rings, and they do these crazy exercises or moves. But I didn't see that at all in any capacity with what you were doing or attempting to do. And I thought that was pretty interesting. Just more curious as to how you have not let that really distract you.
Yeah.
You know, is that maybe something for the training that you want to be taken more serious, so you kind of like keep things to, you know, at the breast? Or do you think about like, all right, once I win my gold medal and I'm, you know, 33 and I'm done with the sport, I'm gonna climb up the side of a building on my hands and then I'll start, you know, or I'm gonna be the next Spider-Man?
I don't know. I've never really been super into that kind of attention. Now, Not that I really see it as a bad thing. I've just never really seeked it out that much.
Mm-hmm.
Although, like, I agree. It's like something, if you can like build a brand that big for yourself, like I say, like, I'm all for it. I'd say go for it, because I mean, you can monetize that, and it's an awesome opportunity. Although with gymnastics, it is a little bit more difficult. I said I know a couple of gymnasts who have done it, but gymnastics isn't very popular. But now that like college athletes are able to earn money and stuff, it's getting a lot more popular. I think part of it is also that I didn't take the opportunity early enough. I think if I started working on it, I could build up a pretty decent following. But I was never really into that when I was younger, and so I never really built a big following on social media. I don't know, once I realized that, I never really had much of a desire to. Does that make sense? It was just never
It's not your thing. Not like an attention whore like I am.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but I don't
exactly.
I don't like to think of it like that, though.
I know.
I don't like to think of it as like I'm just not an attention whore.
No, it's everybody's a little different in how. I could never post anything that I do well. It's hard for me. I couldn't win an award and post, there I am receiving the award. I could post somebody else winning the award, you know. I could post a person, if I got second place, I'd much rather talk about the person getting first place. Or if I got first place, I'd rather talk to the person that's getting second place. But at your age, social media, it's just, and at my age, right, it's just such a big part of the world.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's young people, you know, all people. Some handle it gracefully and do it really well, and you know, sometimes you see things where I'm like, I don't know if I want my mama to see that, you know. And all your stuff is that I've seen to this point, you know, is in good taste and actually quite quiet for, you know, somebody that has your ability. Mm-hmm. So, good for you, man.
Thanks.
All right, one last question.
Yeah, all good.
You win the gold medal.
Yeah.
All right, you're bald. You're 51. It's time for you to retire. What else would you like to do after the sport?
I have like this little aspiration of maybe going into bodybuilding. I've always been fascinated with bodybuilding and just like people lifting weights and being strong. Like that's kind of where like my fascination with rings kind of stemmed from. It's just when I was a kid, I was always fascinated with just like being strong, and like I was a kid like, Dad, look at my muscles, like look at how strong I am. And I would be like 2, he'd be like, whoa, there'd be like nothing there. And but I always just kind of had that like, yeah, I'm so strong. Like I knew, like ever since I was like a kid, I knew that I was stronger than all the other kids, even if I wasn't.
Right.
Even if it was wrong, I knew that in my mind. And I think that has something to do with just my success on rings. Like as a kid, I was always fascinated with Superman and the Hulk, and like something with like muscles and just being strong always fascinated me. And so bodybuilding is something that I've always kind of wanted to do. I can't do that in gymnastics really, or at least I can't focus on it, because gymnastics would take away from that, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. But after my gymnastics career, I think that's one thing that I really want to do. Is just because my training isn't hypertrophy based. It's more strength based. I try to stay really light. I don't want to get too big. Mm-hmm. But I would love to see if I just dedicated like a couple years to just like see how big I could get, see what kind of definition I could get, like how conditioned I could get. Mm-hmm. I really want to see what kind of potential I have. I would just love to explore that and see if I pushed myself to the absolute max, what can I make my physique look like if I gave it my all. That's something that I've always been really, really curious about.
I think that you have, whatever it is you decide to do, you have the discipline.
Thanks.
And you know, for the sport that you're in right now, the discipline that it takes, you know, you're going to be fine no matter what you do. I bet like if you go into bodybuilding, you're going to probably end up doing all right. And bodybuilding is, from what I've seen, you know, it's a sport that, you know, people can kind of get into a little bit later in life. Mm-hmm. A lot of athletes, when they're done with whatever, you know, they were doing for their sport, it's something you can do for the rest of your life. I think bodybuilding is a great sport, and you have all the tools, you know, to be successful in whatever it is that you want to do. There's a great little book called Be Obsessed or Be Average, and it's by a guy named Grant Cardone. He's a real estate guy, but you remind me of that. And my son is obsessed about a lot of, particular subjects that don't necessarily reflect in his academia, but his obsession with, what he likes to learn, just like your obsession with, biohacking, learning your body, getting to a certain level in your discipline. If you carry that obsession in everything that you do, I think people need to be obsessed in order to be successful. I don't think you can be successful and great and elitist and not be obsessed.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. That's something that I kind of I used to kind of struggle with understanding, because there were so many people around me saying you want to have a balanced life, you want to have a balanced social life and work life and gymnastics life, and I think that's true to an extent, and I've actually learned that recently, because I think I've isolated myself as a gymnast a little bit too much. I think I kind of hit that extreme to the point where I was like, whoa, I'm too isolated, this is affecting my mental health. And now that started affecting my gymnastics in a negative way. So now I'm okay, I just recently learned, okay, I need some social life. Not complete balance, but not complete disarray. Not complete. You just have to find your own balance, really.
Your own balance.
Your own balance.
But your own balance does not necessarily, is not the definition of, look, at my age, I have a lot of energy. People, how do you do it? And then, I do this or I'll do that, and I have a bunch of things going all the time. And people I don't understand, where do you find the energy? My friends are some of my friends are a little bit older. They look they look a little bit more aged. As soon as we're done with this, I'm going to go outside in this wind that's howling. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to run 7 miles. I worked out this morning.
Oh, nice.
The people that I admire professionally and even in their physiology, I'm a big Sylvester Stallone fan. I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. I love that these guys are in their mid-70s. And they don't look like my grandfather. Mm-hmm. But there has to be, if you're going to be great, there has to be obsession. And you're finding your balance, that you need maybe a little bit more of a social life. But even within that, the regular people will never understand the amount of effort and work it takes in order to be, placed at the podium. They don't understand that sometimes you don't go to the movies the night before, you go to bed, you get up in the morning, you train, you eat properly, and it's you don't take a day off. I remember in the gym one time I was working out with this guy and everybody was talking about his physique, and they said, when's the last time you had a beer? And he was like, what year is it? and you can admire the work that it's easy to see, oh yeah, he looks great, and people will joke, he probably hasn't had any chocolate, and he might not have.
Yeah, that might be true.
But that's the discipline, and I think you carry that. You're a good embodiment of that, and not a lot of guys your age, that at least when I was your age, we weren't doing any of that shit. So I wish you well.
Thanks.
And I'm excited to know you, and get to follow you. And for whatever reason, God brought you into our lives randomly.
Yeah, it was very random, actually.
So it's nice, and you're always welcome over here.
Appreciate that.
We got a pull-up bar in the gym down there. If you just need to rep some out.
Awesome.
You can sneak in there and work through it.
Sweet.
Cool. So what's your IG again?
Troy Lipis. TroyLipis.
All right, Troy Lipis. For me, what is most exciting is that I want you to be super successful, because I'm going to have this. And I'm going to be I'm a big fan of always seeing where people started.
This is my first podcast I've ever been on. Yeah.
Awesome. So well, I'm glad that
have the first one.
It was with me.
Yeah.
All right. Be well.
All right. Sweet.